Hey guys, Michael Corsentino for On One Software with another inspiration video in my ongoing series. Today I'd like to share with you one of the ways that I use the On One suite in my fashion work, in my fashion images. This is part of a forthcoming webinar, complete webinar on my fashion workflow using the On One Perfect Photo Suite. But right now I just want to kind of whet your appetite and share with you one of the ways in which I use the Perfect Effects module of the On One Perfect Photo Suite to color grade my images. Color grading is something that I do a lot, pretty much on all of my fashion images, and you'll see what nice effects you can achieve with color grading. And again, this is just a quick, very brief tutorial, which is just going to show you sort of an overview of what color grading can do. And then in the webinar, you'll be able to see how I take this particular image that we're going to work on today from soup to nuts. We'll start and we'll do a complete workflow on that and a bunch of other images as well. So let's dig right in and take a look at color grading. All right, so you can see here that I've got the Perfect Photo Suite open, the complete standalone suite, which allows us to work in the On One environment entirely without the support of any other applications. So let's start here. Typically what I would do with an image like this, as you'll see in the webinar, is I would first see what kind of enhancements needed to be made, any kind of bit of retouching. I would probably start in Enhance, then I would move to Portrait, and then I would move to Effects, where we'll take care of the color grading. But for the purposes of this inspiration video, let's move right to Effects. And I will set my bit depth at 8, and I'll keep my resolution at 72 just so we can work quickly. And more importantly, you'll see here that I've got Edit as a copy selected, and that's just going to make sure that I'm working on a new image, on a duplicate. All right, so let's launch that image. We are brought into the Perfect Effects suite. And we'll wait for it to load in. And you can see here, for this example, we're going to be working in filters. We've got filters and presets and favorites over here on the left. And I want to call your attention to the color enhancer. There are several ways which you can interact with the color enhancer. You can either twirl open this reveal triangle over here, or what I typically do more often than not is click on the grid over here on the right of the title, and that is going to launch a viewer where I can see all of the various options that I have. So for this particular image, I want to kind of cool it down and make it really edgy. I still want to maintain some of the warmth, and cool shadows is one of the ways that I think is perfect for this particular image. So let's select this preset called Cool Shadows. We'll select that, and you'll see how it immediately gives this really cool color cast. Let's zoom out just a little bit so we can see the entire image. And you can see here what it's done. It's given this really cool cast overall to the shadows, and I think that that's really a nice change. Let's just turn that on and off real quick so we can see what the effect is without and with. And there you go. So I think that's definitely an improvement and moving in the right direction, giving it a kind of moody, urban quality, fashion kind of quality. All right, so the next thing, now when we did that, when we first brought it into Perfect Effects, it automatically gave us a blank layer to work with. And this is a layer-based workflow. So moving forward, when we want to do any subsequent effects, what we need to do is click this plus button over here, and that's going to give us a new empty layer. And you can see here that it says empty layer, and it's got a mask applied. So we're ready now to try our next effect and see how we like it. So I'm going to go back over to Color Enhancer in this instance, and you've got just a ton of different things that you can choose from, but for the purposes of this image, we'll go back to Color Enhancer. I want to bring back a little bit of warmth on the skin, so let's look at how we can do that. And there are a lot of different ways that you can do that, but I'm going to use this method. So we'll go over here and scroll down, and I'm going to choose Warmer, and you can see here in the thumbnail that creates a much warmer look to the image, gives a nice color tone, color grading. You can see here also that down in the bottom left-hand corner here, we've got a little slider which will control how big or small our thumbnails are. All right, so let's select that warmer toned effect, And now you can see that this applies that warmer tone to the entire image. Now, I like what it's doing on the skin, but I'm not so fond of what it's doing on the shadows, because we started out, we wanted the shadows a little cooler, and now we've kind of negated that effect. So since this already has a mask applied, what I can do is go and I can hide the entire effect and paint it in where I want it. All right, so all I need to do that is just go over to my masking brush, click on that, and all of my masking tools then become available. And if we look over here in the upper right hand corner of our interface, we can see here that we've got invert and reset buttons. So I'm going to click on the invert button. That is going to turn my mask black, and it is going to hide the effect entirely. Now, that's only part of what we need to do, because I don't want to hide it entirely. I only want to hide it on areas other than our model's skin. So I want to paint back in that effect on the skin. So you can see here that if we look up here in our mode, on our tools up on the left-hand corner, our masking tools, we can see here that the mode is paint in, which is perfect. That's just what I want to do. We've got the size of our brush. We've got a feather amount of 50, which is good. And our opacity is at 100. I'm going to take that opacity down. I'm just going to type into that field. I'm going to bring it down to 50. I know I don't want it to be overwhelmingly warm, but I want to add back a little bit of warmth. And I can season to taste using my master opacity or my layer opacity slider as well. So let's just paint in, bring back some of that warmth. We'll do it on the hair and on the skin. There we go. I could also be using my perfect brush, which would constrain. Let's just turn that on. Okay, we can close this. Good. And it's going to kind of constrain it to the areas that we start painting in. So I'll lift up my brush and start again. And there we go. This is just keeping it from spilling over into the cooler tone areas that we've got on the background in the shadow areas. All right, so you can see here that now we've got a much warmer tone to our model's skin. You can see how the mask has been painted on. Let's just turn that on and off so we can kind of see the warmth with the warmth, and without, there's without, and with, and you can see here that that is only affecting the skin. I think we could stand a little bit of a softer effect, so I'll just kind of scroll this, take this slider and move it down to, let's say, about 50%, 40%, maybe just a little bit more. There we go. And I think we have an image that is closer to what I have envisioned. I think it's much better looking than we started out. In the upcoming webinar, I will take this image even further. We'll do a little bit of sharpening, a little bit of retouching, apply a vignette, etc. And then you'll see the full-on effect and workflow in this image and a host of other images. So let's just save and close. All right, so we are back in the browser. Here is our original image. And here is our image after a few quick adjustments in the Perfect Effects module. So pretty amazing what you can do working quickly and intuitively. Again, I do a lot of color grading when it comes to my fashion images. In the upcoming webinar, and you can check the On1 calendar to see when that's later in this month, around about the end of the month, I believe. We'll be working through a bunch of images, all fashion-oriented images, and I can kind of walk you through more of what I do. I do have a final, which is kind of what we'll be doing with this image in the webinar. We're going to take it there, and this image has a bunch of retouching and some softening and some sharpening and some other things, so you can see what the complete workflow would be. But in this case, I just really wanted to turn you on to the power of color grading with the On1 Perfect Photo Suite. So I hope to see you guys all later in the month. That's it for now. This has been Michael Corsentino for On1 Software.